This is Fast Moving Targets at Eurosonic Noorderslag 2013. First guest today. Who are you and what are you doing?
Good morning. My name is Zondervan. I work for Buma Stemra. We organize this event through Buma Culture, which is our cultural brand. And I am partly responsible for the program during this event, for the conference program.
Yeah, so, and I was just looking at your card and it says business development.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
That's my normal day job at Buma Stemra. I normally advise a lot of people and look into new ways for the industry, of the copyright industry, to connect with the new tech industry and the new music industry, which is out there, of course. Artists have a whole new way of doing business, just like basically every other market is. And basically I'm trying to bring the new world and the old world together, being kind of the glue between those.
Yeah. The first thing I noticed during those days here, being here with, of course, the music lovers, the music makers, etc., but doing the tech business as well, there's a completely other atmosphere, it feels like, than a lot of the other panels, where most of the time, very often people still are complaining about how bad it goes. Here it feels like, wow, we can do a lot of things.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things that I noticed as well. When I've been on board now for 3 years. This is my third year that I'm at Buma. And basically my first week when I was on board at Buma was Eurosonic for me. So that was my first experience within the Buma culture, so to say. And I noticed the same thing. I was in several panels where they were complaining about how bad the industry was and blah, blah. And then I noticed that there wasn't much of the positive vibe going on within those panels, which I did see outside in my everyday job when I was talking to these new tech guys doing all this exciting stuff, but having no clue what was going on in the copyright world or in the music industry itself or in the classical industry, so to say, the more the label part of the things. And yeah, I thought it was very interesting to bring these two worlds together more than what's going on at that particular moment. So that's what I've been trying to do here.
Yeah. You organized this interactive part of the event, but you were a speaker as well on the first day. During that speech, if there was one point you wanted to make, what was the point you tried to get across there?
Basically the most important thing that I try to tell with the whole streaming debate, because we did a whole day of regarding streaming, is that it's basically hope, that we should embrace it. There's a lot of criticism out there, and there's a lot of anxiety amongst a lot of people within the industry saying like, okay, streaming is a good thing, but I'm not getting enough paid, or there's not enough money for me in it, or should I be wary, or taking down my tracks, and what I want to tell them is hang in there. It's an investment in your own future. You're going to have to be there in for the long haul to gain momentum and give the chance to get critical mass for these platforms. Give them the chance, and what they need is more than just a chance and let's wait around, give not just time, but they also need to be able to make their market work for them. So I think the pricing model, for instance, is one of the things that they really have to reconsider. I know I'm in my day-to-day job, I look at a lot of those copyrights and how much they have to pay, and we have to do a lot with the tariffs and everything. And sometimes it feels like it's very high. It's a high burden for some of them, and they have good intentions. Like you said, there's a positive vibe. They want to move forward, and if we help them, they can move forward quicker. And innovation is fast, and to be honest, we are a little bit slow.
Yeah,
so.
But all the time, or very often, you see in newspapers, music magazines, etc., articles, so to say, like Spotify is brilliant for fans, music lovers. Yeah. But not so much for artists, because they only get. So why don't we? Why do we look wrong at those figures, according to you? Because that was what you were saying as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I was saying is that we are trying to look at consumption metrics by distribution metrics.
So what does it mean?
And basically what it means is that we look at the whole market from a perspective, like we've always been done, of potential use. Potential use is something that the whole industry has been built on, actually. You would say like owning some material, like a CD, doesn't necessarily mean you listen to it every day. You stick it in your cupboard and maybe you listen to it once a year, and sometimes you listen to it every day for five times a day. So there's a big there's a big difference in how people perceive their music and how they use it. What you see in streaming is, of course, actual uses. You only pay for the things that you actually use at that particular moment. So it's a totally different hybrid model behind it than that we are looking at from the potential use perspective. Radio, CD, everything basically that we've had before is based on that model. It's based on potential use. So it's a different mindset. And it's very hard to explain that, of course, just in a short set. I tried to do that yesterday, but you have to take into account that some people are very specialists on everything's going on in the streaming world, and others are novices, just at best. So and then you have to make sure that everybody gets a point to take away.
Yeah. An interesting thing you pointed out as well was that well, we know this thing called The Long Tail. A couple of years ago, it was a book by Chris Anderson, where he pointed out that by making things digital, you have access to everything, and is still are there big hits, so to say. But when you take into account all the other small players, that's a huge amount. And you pointed out there's a big difference between the long tail in streaming services and in, for example, iTunes.
Yeah, for instance, there's like I said, all the platforms that came before were based on a different model. And what you see is, of course, since we are pushing from the music industry, that's basically how we've been building the music industry, pushing charts, pushing this is what you have to listen to, this is what you should like, this is what. So it doesn't mean that they've been pushing it down the throat, but that's basically how the whole model's been working for up till now. So making people popular, making artists popular, you still see that on television today. But on the other hand, you see that people develop their own taste if they have abundance. If they can reach everything that they want, they're going to search for maybe something different. And in the end, they might like that and go like, hey, I've tapped into something here which the rest of the world has not tapped into, to their opinion, and which is not per se popular, but is within their taste. And you see that now more than ever is that people become more individualistic in their taste and in their choices. And of course, there's a lot to say that we used to do that as well in the old world. It's just new, old wine in new bags, so to say. That's a Dutch pronounce. I don't know if that's English. But what you see there is that because we make these choices as individuals, you see more and more that we look for different things that we did before. So we're not that much interested in charts anymore. That's why they're going down as well.
Yeah. According to you, what is the most important trend concerning music and technology right now?
Actually, what I think is that the demand is being more met for the consumer, and we're starting to tweak it more and more and more. And of course, I also emphasized a little bit on lean forward versus lean back. And what I didn't use in the speech was that lean forward is, of course, about search, but we also need people to find what they need to search for. So improving on search, that's something that I see a lot going on. Of course, we've seen Google tapping into that for for more than a decade now. But within the music, that's still very fresh. So finding ways like, if you like this, then you probably like that. This kind of thing, that's also a way for search. So lean forward and lean back, they're also going to integrate.
Yeah. So if there was one thing you could change about the music industry, what would it be?
Make copyright easier. I think that would help tremendously. And by easier, I don't mean... It sounds a lot of the times, that was also one of the complaints that I heard in the earlier years, is that there would be unwillingness from within the copyright societies. That's not what I see since I've been working there. What I see is that a lot of people are trying very hard, but it's very difficult. There's so many rules, it's fragmented, it's long processes. We have to come up with new strategies all the time just to be able to keep up, which is hard for a lot of people. I mean, it's hard for me sometimes. I mean, I have to look at some models which I think, wow, this is a fantastic model. I really want these guys to succeed. And then I have to look at how much they would have to pay through our system, and if we look at it from a fair perspective. And it's hard.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I always say to people, to be quite honest, I'm happy other people are doing it, but I wouldn't start a music startup where the rights were concerned.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I think it's getting better because the mindset, in my opinion, is also changing a lot. What I see around me is a lot of people really willing to work together with startups to get them going, to get them running. isn't necessarily within the law of if that's wrong or whatever, but it's also in legislation. European legislation, for instance, is very slow at this moment.
Yeah, so if we would start an international thing, we would have to go to every different country and start all over again.
Yeah, I did an analysis about a year ago, which is used by our CEO a lot, is that we need to be in 27 countries. Or 27. You have to go to 27 societies. You have to go to 3 majors. Then you have to go to some independent labels which are not represented. If you want everything which there is in music, it will probably take you more than 2 years to even get there, and it takes a huge amount of investment money to just fly all over the place, meet all these people. One of the things I said in my speech was that it takes about 5,000 contacts. And these are not only email contacts. It also means coming out to the country. And in some cases, it goes all the way up to 30,000 contacts, which have been reported through research. So that's a huge amount. I mean, you can basically only start a good service, not just streaming, but any tech service which touches the music industry. You can only start it if you have a huge capital behind you.
Yeah, and when you say, it should become easier, what does that mean? How would it idealistically look like? What would it look like?
Well, there are signals now that we're moving into an era where there's going to be several hubs, for instance. Those are more countries banding together so that you can go to one place to get all your licenses at once. So you do just one negotiation, which is also going to be tough, of course, because there's a lot to consider, but it's going to be way easier than it is now. That's a positive step forward. But there's also, of course, where there's good, there's always bad as well. It comes together, and you can see that in that particular case as well, that even though if we manage to get all these licenses together, it also means that how are you going to put your negotiations? The local repertoire, for instance, is that going to be well represented within those negotiations, or is it just going to be about the US market and some of the UK market? There's also, of course, a little bit worry there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You as a business development man, when you talk about the money, what are the trends when say money is concerned? Where do people make money, and how does that change? Or is it only technically different than other streams?
Yeah, basically it's more and more innovative than I've ever seen. Basically, they're making money out of all kind of things out of service. Providing service to third parties, providing service, of course, to the consumer. You want more service, you got to pay a little bit more. You want it easier. For instance, search could be something that they make money out of, or curation, or there's of course advertising. All the classical models also apply, but I don't think those are the most interesting to talk about here because they're not really new. I mean, ever since basically any platform has been around, there's been advertisement. So what you see now is that, for instance, micropayment is something that I also see still up and coming. Although I find it very funny to see that we are not even adopting it well in the West. While if you look at, for instance, Africa, it's easier to get something paid in Africa through your mobile phone than it is here, which is quite funny actually. So yeah.
Hey, if seeing all those possibilities, and say if you would stop now with Buma Stemra, and I. As an investor, I believe in you. So I say, okay, what are we going to do? What sort of a business would you start now? Where do you see the biggest possibilities?
Well, that's one of the questions that I get a lot, and I've chosen not to answer that anymore because
I've answered it before. So please, do it for me as well.
What I do want to say is that, of course, if I would go outside of Buma, then I would probably be consulting new startups all over the place, working within business model. So making sure that business model innovation taps into the tech versus the old industry music. So the pinnacle point where I'm at now, that's where I like to be at this moment. And yeah, there's a lot of possibilities where I could go, but I've said to myself I'm going to be in this for 5 years, and then I'm going to reevaluate. This is my 3rd year, so I have 2 years to go before I start reevaluating. But being in the 3rd year, I can see there's so much excitement going on. I think it's going to be very difficult to leave this behind. So I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much. If you want more information, more interviews about music, innovation, etc., you can follow it at our YouTube channel, Fast Moving Targets. We're doing a lot from this event, and actually you can find there a lot other good programs as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.